In the previous study, we began our examination of the lightning, thunder, voices, earthquake, and great hail. The first appearance of the lightning, thunder, and voices is seen at the throne of God in Revelation 4, verse 5. And out of the throne proceeded lightning, and thundering, and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. In the previous study, I proposed that the voices are identified by the 5th seal, being the loud and unified voice of the saints, crying for judgment and vengeance. When I say unified, imagine the roar at a sports arena. Such is the loud voice of Revelation 6, verse 10. Lightning is extremely intense light, and when it strikes, it connects earth to heaven and heaven to earth. John wrote, God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. So God's lightning or light then denotes his wisdom and life that he imparts to you and me. For this reason, we read at the opening of the first seal, that I saw when the Lamb broke one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying, as with a voice of thunder, come. First John saw, then John heard. What did he see? He saw the lightning, followed by thunder, the wisdom of God in a mystery, unfolding before him in the form of a white horse and rider with a bow and a crown, going forth conquering and to conquer. Who else is this if not Christ? Having ascended to the right hand of the Father, he sets forth to finish the Father's work in the earth. The voice of the living creature is a voice of thunder, the great voice of Christ and his saints. Lightning, thunder, and voices proceeding from the throne. The thunder is the voices, the unified voice of the souls in the 5th seal, calling for judgment and vengeance. Why is this? Because when his judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world learn righteousness. This brings us to the 7th seal. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices, thundering, and lightning, and an earthquake. In alignment with God's judgment proceeding from the throne, we see the fire of the altar cast into the earth. Might this fire of the altar signify the lake of fire? I believe it does. The coals of fire for the golden altar of incense come from the brazen altar, typifying the consuming fire of God's will and word in those who laid down their lives for the sake of the gospel. First, lightning, thunder, and voices from the throne of God, symbolizing the need for God's judgment in the earth. Then the 7th seal is opened, and John declares once more that there are voices and thundering and lightning and an earthquake. This time, voices are first, perhaps to emphasize what Jesus said to those in the 5th seal in Revelation 6, verse 11. And the earthquake? We gain understanding from the following in Hebrews. See that you do not refuse him who is speaking. For if they did not escape when they refused him who warned them on earth, much less will we escape if we reject him who warns from heaven. At that time his voice shook the earth, but now he has promised, yet once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens. This phrase, yet once more, indicates the removal of things that are shaken, that is, things that have been made, in order that the things that cannot be shaken may remain. Therefore, let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Thus, let us offer to God acceptable worship with reverence and awe, for our God is a consuming fire. Here the earthquake is explained, the shaking of the earth and the heavens by his voice, so that the things that cannot be shaken may remain. No doubt, this typifies tribulation, corresponding with judgment. Now, let's consider the 6th seal. I looked when he opened the 6th seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood. With the opening of the sixth seal, John sees a great earthquake. Now let's go to the following. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. In alignment with the sixth seal, John sees a great earthquake in the sixth trumpet. And we read, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. Is this literal? Not at all. The 10th part of the city denotes the tithe or first fruits to God and the Lamb, 7,000 or remnant that God reserves to himself. They are those who overcome through the fulfillment of the 7 prophecies to the churches. Sixth seal, sixth trumpet. Now we have a switch. And there were voices and thunder and lightning, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. First, John sees the great earthquake in the sixth trumpet, but then in the 7th he sees it again. Why is this? Because the 7th is rest, indicating that all God determines is accomplished in the 6th. The 7th is simply a summation. So in the sounding of the 7th trumpet, John again sees a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. This correlates with what Jesus said in the following. For then there will be great tribulation, such has not been since the beginning of the world until this time. No, nor ever shall be. Thanks to tradition, we have been conditioned to think that great tribulation is yet to come. But friend, this is not some sort of future event, just as the sounding of the 7th trumpet is not literal. In fact, none of the trumpets in Revelation are literal trumpets. Rather, their sounding symbolizes the unfolding or fulfillment of the prophetic words of Christ to his people. And the trumpets are heard only by those who have ears to hear what the Spirit says to the churches. We must always keep in mind that the trumpets are chronological, each one building on the previous trumpet until the fullness of the 7th is reached. Great tribulation, which I believe incorporates the time span between the early church and now, and will include a good number of the days ahead of us. Dear brother and sister, we've gone from swords and bows to nuclear weapons in 2,000 years, and it is impossible to number the lives that have been lost to man's desire to conquer due to his excessive love of the self. I truly marvel at how quickly we forget or lessen God's sovereignty. The devil, God is stymied. Man's free will, again, God is stymied. How little it takes to stay the hand of our Father and Creator. How badly he wishes to save his creation, but he can't, thanks to the rebellion of man and angel. Is this really whom Jesus loved and served and taught that we should love and serve? A father who takes his failed children and casts them into an indescribable punishment, not for a few moments, but for eternity? Would you ever wish that for your children? Does God think at all like we think? I don't believe he does. Voices, thunder, lightning, and an earthquake in the 7th trumpet. Here's what we read about the 7th vial or bowl. And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air. There came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, "It is done." And there were voices, thunders, and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. As we see, the same voices, thunder, lightning, and great earthquake that's seen in the 7th trumpet are also seen in the 7th bowl, leading me to believe that they are synonymous. The trumpet relating to our ears to hear, and the vials or bowls relating to our eyes to see. I will close at this point. There's still more to consider, so be sure to join me next time. And folks, thank you for being a part of Grain of Wheat Publishing.